Okay, thank you, HealthX, for the opportunity to come and share what is basically my personal life and my journey as it was from 2006. So I love this image because it's quite confronting about where I came from and to show others that this is what can happen if you get so caught up in life in just doing nothing, really. You come to work, you go home, you go through this stage where you once were active, you once ate really well, and then suddenly life takes over and so many excuses of why you shouldn't eat, why you should drop into the fast food joint on the way home, and sooner or later you end up like that. Yeah, that was me in 2006, and it was one day I was walking back to my office and a colleague said to me, "You don't look very well." And I said, I feel okay. And I was sweating and perspiring, and I was sitting in this meeting, and I actually wasn't that well at all. So I went to the doctors. And my doctor said to me, "Well, you're okay, but you are at risk of acquiring type 2 diabetes." And there was a number of reasons for that. One was I was very overweight. The second was that I wasn't eating very well. I'd lost my reasons for being active. And I was also part of my heritage is Indigenous Australian and Pacific Island, from an island called Vanuatu. In our heritage, we have a very high levels of diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes. It was also a shock to me. It basically hit me like a ton of bricks, because my dad had passed away at the age of 38 from health-related issues. And for most of my life, I grew up thinking, if I ever have a child, I don't want to leave my child behind, and because I want to grow up with whatever child I have and be a father to them. It just so happened that at the same time, my son was on the way, and he was about to be born. So it was like a slap in the face, like, okay, all your life, you wanted to be around for your child when they get born, and suddenly you're in this position where you've just created a situation where in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, your life could be over for a reason that you could have managed. In Australia, there are approximately 1 million Australians who have diabetes. Diabetes is 3 times more common in the Indigenous Australian population. So you can see already that I was at risk. As the Pacific Islands, up to 40% of the islands in the Pacific have diabetes. There are other health-related issues that come out of that as well. And the common cause that they find is that the Pacific Islanders in particular have gone away, and it's the same with the Indigenous Australians, have gone away from the traditional foods and taken on more processed foods and all these lovely sugary drinks. And this is exactly what I had done. So the first thing I had to do was change what I ate to have a more balanced life. So I replaced the fast food, the McDonald's, the KFCs, Red Roosters, fish and chips, you name it, I had it. I used to love that stuff. But then I replaced it with fruit, vegetables, nice portions of meat, and soups. I used to drink a lot more water than I used to drink. I used to drink way too much soft drink. And the soft drink just killed me. And I did one thing, which was I used to start walking. But I started walking with the pram. He was the whole thing of life for me was my child. So when he was born, 6 weeks in, I took 6 weeks off from work, and my exercise started with walking a pram. So I used to walk in the morning, 3 kilometers, out, back, took me an hour. And then in the evening, in the afternoon, after work, well, I wasn't working, but I pushed the pram again, another 3 kilometers. And I continued this for the next 6 weeks until I had to go back to work. And in that time, my weight started to come down. I started to feel better. So I maintained it for a while I was at work, but I had got myself into a routine, a good routine, of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So after another 3 months, I did it again. Push the pram, eat my good foods, drink my good water, and keep pushing that pram. And I continued pushing that pram until he was 1 year old, 2 year old. And that was the start of my exercise. From then on, I decided I was getting fitter and healthier, that I wanted to see if I could push the limits. Because my son meant a lot to me, and if I was going to do anything, I wanted to inspire him. So when he started to grow up, he could see a dad that was healthy, a dad that enjoyed his sports, a dad that also enjoyed life, and a dad that still worked. So began. So I started off by doing, I actually ended up doing a corporate triathlon, a sprint triathlon, which was it was a 400-meter swim, it was a 10-kilometer bike ride, and a 4-kilometer run. But when I achieved that, it was like it was a massive achievement for me because of where I had come from. And I did that in 2008. From then on, I had this drive to suddenly push myself further. And in September of 2008, I did the Bridge to Brisbane 10-kilometer fun run. And that also was like the world had just opened up to me, and thinking, okay, I can go much further and do much more than I've ever done before. So I came to Dubai, and Dubai has this way, or the UAE has this way, where you work and work and you work a lot. And suddenly my routine was all messed up. So I spent the next 3 years just trying to go in and out of gyms. And my running sort of went aside and my triathlons went aside. But in 2011, I decided I need to get back into running because that's what got me here in the first place. So I started again, and I started off my first 5K run was the Iftar Challenge, which has now become my little annual event because it's a reminder of where I started off again. And I continued on doing 10Ks, and then I eventually did a half marathon and the Yas Marina Triathlon. And then in 2013, I went on and did the Abu Dhabi Tri. And then I followed it up with, just before that, I did the Dubai Marathon. And when I did the Dubai Marathon, it was crazily amazing because I'd never in my wildest dreams had ever thought I could run a marathon. So I had reached that point where do I go from here? What do I do now to inspire my son? And my son, we get these participation medals. And I gave them to him. Every time because he lives in Australia, and every time I travel to Australia, I give them to him. And one day I thought, I wonder what he does with them. Does he actually just throw them away? And I was doing Skype with him one day, and he showed me his bed. And on his bed, he has all of my medals holding on the end of the bed. And that really touched my heart that he's actually listening. He's understanding. And he loves to cycle, he loves to run, he loves to swim, and he wants to do scuba diving, and he's only 8 years old. So to me, that's means a lot to me. But after the marathon, I said, well, what do I do now? And a friend of mine had done the 4 Deserts Sahara race and the Gobi race, the 250K Ultramarathon, and so I thought, that's what I'd like to achieve. And so basically for the next 12 months, and I trained as hard as I could, running up to over 60, 80 kilometers a week and cycling and swimming and so on. And in February this year, I completed the race, the 250-kilometer ultramarathon from Wadi Rum to Petra through the desert. And that's an achievement that it hasn't really sunk in. It's like you've done it, and particularly what I was and where I was. But my most significant achievement is this one. In September 2013, I said to my son, would you like to run the 5-kilometer Bridge to Brisbane race? And he said, yes, Dad. So the both of us, we went out there and we ran it together. And the most amazing thing about it was Father's Day in Australia. So I got to run with my son on a 5-kilometer race on Father's Day. And for me, that is the most memorable achievement that I will always carry with me. So what did I learn from just walking? It helps prevent type 2 diabetes, increases my energy levels, relieves stress, improves muscle tone, contributes to a healthier lifestyle, and I've achieved things that I never, ever thought possible. Thank you.